Good evening, everyone. Hope you can hear me okay. We are live across the world. Tonight it's Paul in Spain, no Danny in Spain. It's Paul in Spain and Richard in Northern Ireland. Good evening, everyone. How are you, Richard?
I'm good. And you must have brought the sunny weather with you, Paul, because the temperature's just risen by about 10 degrees. We were sitting here yesterday with 13 layers on, no winter fuel allowance, with me being a pensioner and all. It was terrible. But now today, lovely, lovely warm day. In fact, if it wasn't dark, I think the sun would be out.
There you go, there you go. So listen, guys, I am on an emergency connection here, so I hope everything's all right. I was all nicely connected in the room, and then all of a sudden the Wi-Fi dropped off. So there you go, it is what it is. Let's hope it holds out. But look, loads to get through tonight. Wow, we'll get on to the big news of the day in a few moments. But first of all, Richard, I've been keeping my eye. Well, I've been out here. I've been very, very busy. I've had loads to do. And I saw that on X earlier on that the Pally mob were misbehaving outside Downing Street. I think it was today. Is that right? Have you seen that?
Do you know what? I haven't seen anything, Paul, because I've been really busy myself. I've been, doing all sorts of stuff, all sorts of running about, and I just haven't got seeing any news at all, apart from the big story of the day, which we'll talk about later. But I mean, look, it wouldn't surprise me, Paul, because you can't polish a certain thing that comes out of your body, can you? Do you know what I mean?
Well, here's the deal. This is what I think is going to be really interesting now, right? They've been calling for a ceasefire for over a year. Now they've got one. Will they stay indoors on a Saturday or do a bit of work?
They've only got one with Hezbollah, and it's a very shaky ceasefire at that, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, they're still systematically taking Hamas apart, and fair play to them. I think people are forgetting what happened on the 7th of October. They're forgetting that genocide maniac went into Israel and murdered and massacred and raped and butchered men, women and children, kidnapped men, women and children, and dragged them off to goodness knows a fate possibly worse than death in many cases. And I'm sick of the moral equivalence. There is no moral equivalence. At the end of the day, Israel is fighting a just war. I hope they win. They will win. But will they win in the court of public opinion? The way I was watching the BBC last night, actually, for the first time in ages, and Jeremy Bowen was almost crying because there'd been a ceasefire because he couldn't dig Israel out, And this is a man that's meant to be impartial, meant to represent the BBC, and now we've got Lammy and co, almost threatening to arrest the Prime Minister of one of our allies in the fight against terror and the fight against the jihadists. And basically, we've got the British people in the British government threatening to slam him in prison. So I just think it's incredible.
It's Danny in Spain. Danny, we've got Paul in Spain and Danny in Spain.
I bet you're going to suffer with your internet now.
Do you know what, mate? I was just saying the old internet's not too clever, but there you go.
No, mate. I've just got back from the boxing club, so excuse me, I'm still a bit sweaty.
You're right. So listen, guys, I've got something to tell you. For people that moan about migrants, right? So I'm round the back streets in Spain today, and I was doing a bit of filming, right? And I had my camera out, and I'm just like doing this. All of a sudden, this old boy's come out of his house, right? And he's talking to me in Spanish. I got the drift of it. He was asking me why I was filming, and I went, "Sorry, no, I don't speak any Spanish. I'm English." He went, "España, España."
So I've only been here a day, mate. Give me time.
Yeah. So I think what he was telling me was, you're in Spain, you speak Spanish.
Spanish, yeah. I get that every day, mate. Every day.
Listen, by Nigel's rule, you two boys are coming home on the next plane. Do you know what I mean? You'll get deported. If they go by
I won't, mate. I'm a full resident. I won't.
Speak Spanish. Coming home.
No Espanol.
All I can say is bloody foreigners. But what I would like to have explained to him is that, look, I'm here because my daughter is moving in across the road from you, right? Yeah. She will work hard. She'll pay her taxes. She'll learn the language. She's not here to try and take over. She's not here to try and ruin Spanish culture.
When you can say all that in Spanish, you're doing better than I am, mate. Just say to them, hablo inglés. Do you speak English? They'll say no, but
just say Francis Drake. Francis Drake. I'm like Francis Drake.
Well, I did mention Gibraltar, and he didn't look too pleased. But there you go. It is what it is, isn't it?
Sorry, I'm late to the party, guys.
Dear, oh dear. No, you're all right, guys. Right, so let's get on to the big news of the day. We've got 2,500 people watching. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Guys, please don't forget to give me an upvote. That would really help. Let's just get this super chat. Karen, thank you. Thought Alex was quite curt and disrespectful towards Ben when she was interviewing him. I've got a little something to tell you later on about that. Right, so first of all, let's get into it, guys, because this is going to be a very difficult one tonight, because I reckon, I hazard a guess, that our audience tonight is going to be split about 50-50. 50% of them will say, no, whatever happens, I'm voting for reform. It's the only way. June Slater is someone who I like and respect. You know, she was saying tonight that reform is the only way, and she's been saying that for a long time. The other half of the audience will be totally against reform now for the way that Nigel and co have behaved. First of all, Richard, what's your take? And I'll give you mine a little bit later, but what's your take on it?
Yeah, well, I think I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. I mean, and the way what I've been shocked by, Paul, is the way they've closed ranks against Ben. And Ben, let's get it right. Ben never went publicly out against reform, okay, until today. He stayed loyal. He alluded, I think, to the fact that he wasn't happy with certain things that were going on, but he didn't ever dig them out or dig Nigel out publicly. And I've heard Alex Phillips went at him, you know, and fair play to Alex. She did a great job with Tommy when she was standing up for Tommy, but she went at Ben today. And then you had Farage on with Michelle Dewberry, exactly the same thing. I don't know June Slater, but, you know, obviously June's always been loyal to Nigel and reform anyway, so she's not going to change her position on that. She's just been consistent with what she said, and I've been consistent with what I believe. And everyone's got their own right to make these choices. But from my point of view, I think Ben's actually done the right thing. I think he's absolutely done the right thing. How could he stay in a party that won't let him go and speak to the branches? That is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, the bigger question, Richard, the bigger question is, let me just read this one out. Gray says, as June Slater said, only reform can remove Starmer. I disagree with that, but I'll tell you why later. Thanks, Gray. Let's get it right. Why? Here's the first question I've had. Everyone's heard from Ben. Everyone knows him. Everyone sees him on TV. Why would you see Ben as anything other than an asset to any party?
Completely agree.
Why would you see him as anything other than an asset? The man talks the truth. He talks straight. He's loyal. He's honest. He's straightforward. He bridges many gaps. What is it about Ben that you wouldn't want in your party?
I'd want him as a PM, mate.
That.
I'd want him as a PM.
Absolutely.
He'd make a great Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
From how he talks.
I'll be honest. Can I be brutally honest and brutally frank? Nigel Farage is threatened by him. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Because Ben is younger than Nigel, I think. Is he younger? I think he's marginally younger than Nigel. He's new to politics. Ben's been extremely successful in business. He's very intelligent. He's very articulate. And he's got one thing that I think Nigel lacks. Complete, utter integrity. Complete and utter. And we know that Nigel lacks integrity. Because look at the way he's treated us in the past. Look at what he did to UKIP. Look at what he did with the Brexit Party. Look at what he did to Tommy. Look at what he did to the people that supported Tommy. Now, so Nigel is consistent.
And we won't even mention what someone like Gerard Bannon thinks of him.
Well, absolutely. You know, you want to know about Nigel Farage?
He's a threat, isn't he? Ben's a threat to him, as you say. That's exactly right. He's a threat.
And this is with Nigel. It's always about Nigel. Listen to the way he talks. It's always about Nigel. He brings everything back to himself because he's narcissistic. And the way he spoke about Ben Habib today, I would never.
It was disgraceful.
Even if the only party on the go was Reform, I would vote for an independent over Reform every day of the week. The way Nigel treated someone who'd been loyal to him, who'd set up the party with him, and because Ben had the temerity to ask for the party to be democratic,
democratized,
and democratized. You know, it's incredible. It's incredible the way he's been treated, and I think Ben's done the right thing. Now,
Sorry, there might be a bit of a delay on my headphones here, guys. Something that I've noticed here, and we are not going to, or certainly I'm not going to spend the evening digging out Nigel Farage. I'm certainly not digging out Reform. This is about the problems that are in Reform, and I'll tell you why even deeper, because so many people that are in Reform tell me, and I've never really said this too much before, but so many people in high positions in Reform tell me they don't like Nigel Farage. So there's something going on. There's something going on, and he's not good. Now, if there was Nigel's excuse earlier on is that Richard Tice won his seat, there was no place left for Ben, which is nonsense for a start. They found a place for Zia Youssef. Now, I'd much rather see Ben Habib as chairman of Reform than Zia Youssef.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So as you said, I think that Ben is out because he's a threat to Nigel. If the party is now truly democratised, well, I'll tell you what, Nigel, if you get to see this, how about you go in a leadership campaign and stand against Ben and see who wins? I think you might have a surprise. That's my view.
I think the reality is we know a lot about Reform. We know a lot about what's going on in the background. We know that it is split right down the middle. We know that.
Very much so.
We know there's a massive split in Reform. And sooner or later, people are going to have to make hard decisions and hard choices. And they need to, I think the reality is, and the same with Ben. I mean, it's like I was saying before we came on air, Paul. I mean, Ben could find himself now, because of the way the mainstream media are. Let's get it right. The mainstream media, Reform suits the mainstream media. They're just about bearable. They're not going to be too hard on the preferred demographic. They're not going to be too hard on immigration. There's not going to be any major change between Reform and the Tories and the Labour Party. They're really part of the establishment now. And it's quite obvious by the way that Tice has behaved and the things he said. Now, I think there's some fantastic people in Reform. I think Rupert Lowe, fantastic MP, fantastic orator. Again, independent businessman, doesn't need the money. He's not doing it for any other reason than saving the country. And did you notice they've now turned the fire on James, the young lad that got that surprised everyone that voted in because he had something in his past. Well, look, I tell you what, go and look in every single person in the world's closet, and I can bet you there's something pretty unsavory in every single one of our closets.
Speak for yourself, Rich.
I know. You're right. You're going to be the next Prime Minister, Danny.
I don't know about that.
Here's the thing, boys.
Danny, you're too young to have made any mistakes yet, mate. That's what it is.
Oh, thanks, mate. I'll send you're back on my Christmas card list.
But here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, if people say, "Oh, you've got to stop digging out Reform," it's not Reform digging out. It's their leadership. It's the top three. Zia Youssef, I think we can find a better chairman than Zia Youssef. Richard Tice, who, frankly, I go off more and more by the day, and Nigel Farage. Now, if you take those three out and replace them with Rupert Lowe, with Ben Habib, etc., then I think the party's in a far, far better place. And if Nigel loves this country as much as he says he does, I've said it before, there's got to be a place in that party, at least for Ben, or he step down and let someone take over that really knows what they're doing.
He did say he would do that, Paul. He did say he would do that if it comes to it. But whether we're talking.
So who's the next leader? Here's the thing. Who's the next leader? I know exactly. Zia
Youssef. Now, look, I'm going to say something here now, and I want to qualify this because it's not. I'm not saying this in any sectarian or bigoted way on the grounds of religion. But if you're running a centre-right party where a lot of people are very concerned about mass Muslim migration to your country, it seems a little bit odd to have a Muslim as the leader of that party that nobody really knows. Now, that's not a judgment on it. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. It just seems very, very strange if that's the trajectory that party's going in. And we heard what Nigel said when he did that podcast. He said very clearly. He said, "Look, at the end of the day, we can't deal with this with any problems that come from that community. We've got to roll over." Pretty much. That was reading between the lines what he said. So I think there's big problems in reform.
Well, I tell you, I think something. I mean, look, I would say that I know a lot of people in reform, and they are every single one of them on side with our movement, with Tommy, with Ben. It is just the leadership. So it's no longer that the membership doesn't match the leader. It's now the leader doesn't match the membership in many, many cases. Benjamin says, is there any news on the next big rally in London? Richard, is there anything that we can tell anyone yet?
Yeah, we're planning on January. Probably it's either going to be last weekend in January or first weekend in February. The police liaison guy that I normally speak to is off on holiday for a week, so I'll be chatting to him next week, find out what's happening in the town over those 2 weekends, see what availability we've got in terms of getting people there. I think I'm leaning towards first weekend in February because obviously there's the inauguration.
Isn't there some school holidays though in February? By memory.
I don't know.
So it would make it probably better the end of January anyway, as I say.
Well, I think it'll be first week in February if it be the Saturday the 1st, so it'll be the first week in February. But look, we'll see. But that's what we're looking at. And again, I need to just find out exactly what the rest of the team are thinking in terms of what's going to happen and how it's all going to pan out. But there's a massive hunger for it. That's all we know. There's a massive hunger. We know that Tommy's been getting loads of people emailing him in prison saying, "Look, we loved the last event. We're ready for the next one." So there's a massive hunger, and obviously there's very real, problems in the prison system with political prisoners, with the way Tommy's been treated. So, and having said that, I mean, he seems to be doing okay, all things being considered. Maya, I don't know if you saw Maya Tusi's video earlier on, but Maya and Dan were in with him today, and I text Maya, and Maya said, "Yeah, under the circumstances, he's holding up really well." So which is great, But we want him out. We want him out, and it's I think that's what we've got to really push for is that he gets a bigger chunk chopped off his sentence and gets out early. So
Susan, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Rob says Ben is a threat to Nigel. That's why he's out. Thank you, Roy. Really appreciate that. Gray, getting Starmer out is all that matters, period. Now, look, I agree with that to a very, very large degree. And I will say this, is that I don't want anyone, like I said a minute ago, I'm not thinking reform. Do you know what? I'll vote reform tomorrow if there's a general election, but I want to see either Ben Habib back in the party or Nigel Farage to step aside and let someone who's got the skill to do the job. I mean, look, is Ben now is he going to join UKIP? Is he going to set up his own party? These are all options for him. What is he going to do? What do you think?
It'd be great if he set up his own party. That would be great.
The thing is, though, Rick, the thing is for that, though, Danny, look, we're splitting the vote again and again and again.
Yes, yeah, that is the problem. We're splintering.
What we've got to do is that we've got to unite everyone. And I think we do that behind the pledge. The pledge is the way to unite everyone. However, all of these people, Nigel Farage in particular, and when I say all of these people, do you know what? It's not even really all of them. It's Nigel Farage and Richard Tice need to man up and accept. I mean, look at the way Ben stood up for that lot today in his speech. He stood up for that lot. And that is the average, everyday working man and woman in this country. Ben will stand shoulder to shoulder with us, and he's also capable of standing shoulder to shoulder with any politician that's in Parliament right now, I've said it before, is a man that bridges the gaps. Nigel and Richard Tice cannot do that right now. Now, people can moan at me all day long, but that's not my fault. Have a look at what they've said. It wasn't me that called everyone that lot. It wasn't me that threw Tommy under a bus half a dozen times. That's down to Richard and Nigel. And I tell you something now, Richard knows this, right? Time and time again, we have tried as a group, and Richard knows the work that I've been involved in the background, trying to get these people together. What has it been like for me, Richard? What has it been like?
I mean, it's been like herding cats, you know. I mean, it's just been impossible to do. Well, that hasn't. No, there's only two cats that are the problem. You know, it's Top Cat and Benny that are the problem. You know, and they're not playing ball.
Top Cat and Benny. Oh dear, that is.
Well,
funny.
I was talking about the pledge just now. The pledge has had a surge of sign-ups, so I hear, Rich.
Oh man, yeah, we've had over 20,000 since Saturday.
Since the last live. That's great.
And it didn't start until Sunday when we did the live, and it just went through the roof. Then, you know, Jeff did his video, boom, got another big lift, massive lift from Maya. Well, you know, well done to Maya. You know, played an absolute blinder. So yeah, it is absolutely. I said last week that I want to see 100,000 sign-ups by Christmas.
I think that's very possible now.
I think it's very possible, but we need to keep the momentum going. You know, so we need to. Be
and that, by the way, boys, that will exceed Reform's membership.
Yep, absolutely.
So if we were a political party, we would have more members. Linda, thank you so much.
Sorry, go on. No, go on.
I'm gutted. Linda says I'm gutted. I really wanted to see Ben and Nigel find some middle ground here. They need to look at the bigger picture. I agree, Linda. Ben is looking at the bigger picture. Nigel isn't. Farage knows Ben is more popular than he is, and his ego is going to be his downfall. Linda, you bring a brilliant word up there. Everyone I speak to in politics, the more I get into this, the more I learn, the more people I meet. One word keeps coming up when it comes to Nigel.
Ego. Yeah. Yeah, she's hit the nail on the head.
And I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you something else as well. I'm a little bit concerned about something here. I thought Alex Phillips, who I have a lot of respect for and I really like, I thought she was vicious with Ben this afternoon.
Dreadful.
And I'm convinced that Alex is an out-and-out Nigel woman. I think she's dedicated to Nigel, and I think she'd do well to step back and take a look at the bigger picture and choose. How can I say choose her side? I don't mean choose her side, but look at it more carefully. I understand that Nigel right now is better placed to potentially win the next general election. And do you know what? I would take Jack the Ripper over the one we got at the moment. So
sorry, Paul. Sorry.
No, go on. I was going to say, look, ultimately, if you said to me, would you have Nigel Farage in charge or the one we got at the moment, I'd take Nigel all day long, but he's not my first choice by a long way.
People were saying in the comments, Paul, that Alex wasn't vicious, she was challenging. I've not seen it, so I can't comment.
I'll take, maybe vicious wasn't the best word. Yeah, maybe vicious is a bit strong, but I thought you could tell by her face.
Heavy. Yeah.
Well, I just thought you could tell by her face. To me, she was favouring Nigel, and I believe that is the case. Having said that, look, like I said, she's a good girl. She stuck up for Tommy in the past, and I'm not going to moan about her. But that's just what I saw. Look, I'm out in Spain. I've had a quick look at it on my phone this afternoon. Maybe I'll watch it again. I'll get a second opinion.
I think she was vicious. I watched it, and she was vicious. She wasn't showing any grace. She was dismissive. She read out some very insulting comments by viewers. I think it was a despicable interview for someone that's meant to be a friend. You know, and again, I read very deeply into these things. I'm going, I wonder if she's been hauled over the coals for saying that Tommy is a wonderful person, and I wonder if is she in the crosshairs for that, and there's been pressure put on her, you know. From you see, I think we've got two establishments here, right? We've got two establishments. We've got the old establishment, which is the Labour, the Uni Party, Labour Conservatives, the mainstream media, right? That's one establishment, and then what we've got is the new establishment, which is GB News, Talk TV. And it's interesting that none of us lot ever get on Talk TV. None of us lot ever get on GB News, right? Not that I should be. I mean, I'm nobody, but I'm talking about none of us. You know, 2C used to get on GB News a bit. You don't really see him on it now. All the lads that got sacked, they never get onto any of those channels now. They're all smashing it on YouTube and on the independent media. You know, Calvin and Maya and Dan Wotton. Doing a brilliant job, right? They're absolutely smashing it, but they're not going to get on. They're not getting on mainstream, and it's you're only one Google, you know, hissy fit away from losing everything anyway. So I think what worries me,
Calvin's another one that's been cancelled.
Yeah,
Calvin.
Yeah, absolutely. What worries me, Paul, is that they could try and cancel Ben, and that's what I'm worried about. Now, if that's the case, then what we need to do is lift up his arm, get round him, and get him on everybody's. You know, everybody. If he gets cancelled, he can go on anyone's channel. He can go with Tommy. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter anymore because he's cancelled. You know, so if that happens, we've got a real fight on our hands, because it shows you that we are up against a stitch up here. And I'm not going to mention the person that said it to me. The person very, very close to UKIP at one point, at the heart of UKIP, told me that basically, there's something very much awry at the top of the Reform Party. And I'm not going to say any more than that because obviously I'm well aware.
Someone in the comments has just brought up a great comment. Has Nigel signed the pledge? No, he hasn't, has he? But Ben has.
I'll check the database.
Trevor Davis.
Mind you, to be fair, he hasn't been invited. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll invite him publicly to sign the pledge, and we'll see. I mean, well, you know, Nigel, if you're watching, Richard, if you're watching, sign the pledge. But we'll put out, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll write to them officially and invite them to sign the pledge, see what goes on, see what they say. But here's the thing. Why is Nigel so obsessed with recruiting ex-Tories? Do we want a Tory party like?
No,
we don't want a Tory party like.
No, we don't.
What we want is I say a revolutionary. I don't mean literally a revolutionary, but we need a revolutionary party on the centre right that's going to give us and deliver what we need. And I'm afraid since he became elected as an MP, Nigel has gone backwards and sideways, not forwards.
Yeah. I think what will happen, Paul, I think, you know, that basically the enemies of our country and the enemies of what we're trying to do, I think they'll fall by the wayside. I think whether you call it karma or divine providence or whatever you call it, I think there's a way that goodness always wins over evil, and I think we'll see those people fall by the wayside. You know, and we probably won't have to do anything to make that happen. It just you know, in life these things happen. You know, and I think sooner or later they'll just wither. And
here's a question for you both. This is a tough one, right? I think that the Reform missed a massive trick by referring to us as us lot, because us lot, we're their foot soldiers. We're the ones that are going to go out there. We're going to campaign. We're going to leaflet. We're going to get out on the street. We're going to make YouTube videos. We're going to bring them hundreds of thousands of votes. Well, they turned their back on us lot. So I wonder what they feel that by completely ostracising Ben, they're going to gain. And what are they going to gain by bringing in a load of ex-Tories, a load of old former Tories? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Just seems up in the air, doesn't it? It completely seems up in the air. I know they've got time. John, your message is
John.
being read out now, mate. I think he he didn't realise. He thought you'd missed his message, Paul.
No, mate, I'll get through them all. John Baldwin, thank you, John. You are either a celebrity or a politician. Farage is the former, loves the limelight, that one. Simon, thank you. I'm done with reform. UKIP all the way for me now. I hope Ben starts his own party or joins UKIP. Unlikely, but Ben needs to be PM. Julie's a new member. Thank you, Julie. Claire Bear, thank you, darling. Nigel has let me down on everything he said, but having sat back, I've come to quite fascinated how Ben holds himself and talks totally different from previous people. I also like the guy from UKIP. I'm going to be having Nick Tanconi on the show very, very soon. Maybe Farage could be used like a Trojan horse. I think Richard, yeah.
But he's a Trojan horse in the opposite direction. That's the problem. He's the Trojan horse in our camp, not the other way around.
Go on, Paul, read that one out. Be careful at the end.
Farage and Tice are from the top end of town. They are not working class. They are just egotistical tossers. Thanks, mate. Now, look, I'm gonna play devil's advocate again here. Ray, you've done that twice, Ray, but thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Here's the thing, right? For the people that are still pro-reform in the chat now watching, they're going to be a bit annoyed. They're going to be a bit frustrated. But didn't we warn you about this? Going back months now, we warned you. We said to you, look, we are trying to unite everyone. I've reached out to everyone in reform, and the only people in reform who haven't replied or wanted to know is guess who? Because we, excuse me, because we are that lot. I don't know how they're going to think they're going to win the next election. Who's going to vote for them?
I mean, what they've done to Ben, right? Because Ben was all for staying in and fighting from the inside to change the party, right? That was his strategy. He was going to stay in the party, stay loyal, keep his mouth shut, and quietly lobby to get everything changed. That's what he was trying to do, right? He wasn't wanting to lead the party. He wasn't wanting anything like that. He just wanted change so that the party could succeed. And he actually still says that he still wants the party to succeed and change, and he'd be happy if they do, So one of the things I'm worried about, I'm worried that we don't lose Ben, right? So Ben, to me, is such a key figure that, we've got to encourage him, because he is going to come under a lot of pressure over the next few days and weeks, with the grief he's going to get from these, these people in reform.
He's going to cop it, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to cop. But I think the other thing is, I'm on the NEC of UKIP, and incidentally, that doesn't affect what I do with the pledge, because I still think that, to me, the pledge is above everything. It's above every political party, because it's the ideology, and I think I still think that the pledge will be able to bring us all together. I think we know there's thousands of reform members have signed the pledge. We know that, right? There's people from all different parties signing the pledge, and none, So
Richard,
the pledge
sorry to interrupt you there, mate. Someone's just said, has Nick Tanconi signed the pledge? He's your side, isn't he? UKIP. Yes.
Do you know what? I haven't invited him to yet, right?
There's another one.
But we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that because obviously we very strategically wanted to get Ben to sign the pledge first, because Ben is seen as a character that brings people together, because that's his sort of personality. And
we need people that unite people.
We need people that unite people. Yeah. But no, I'll be inviting Nick. I'll certainly invite Nick to sign it. I mean, if he hasn't signed, I haven't checked the database.
And I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
Of course he will. Yeah. I mean, it's everything he believes. So So then you'll have Ben signed it. Andrew Bridgens signed it. Other
Peter Whittle.
Peter Whittle, yeah, Peter Whittle, man. Big name. So the reality is that we want to get ordinary people signing it as well. We want to have signing ceremonies for ordinary people. And I've spoke to Wendell about doing something with the black community in London, having a signing, where we'll stand in his area with friends of his. So that's going to happen hopefully in the new year. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen, and I think it's a really exciting time. I mean, when there's uncertainty like this, it kind of unsettles people, and people going, what do we do now? And what if Ben sets up a party? Well, I think we've got to throw all the balls up in the air and see where they land, and then when they all land, we know where we are. But again, I keep going back.
Sorry, go on, Richard. Go on, carry on.
Just very quickly, just the pledge still sits above all that. The pledge sits above every single part of that, because it is the one thing that can bring people together. We're all going to have our spats about whether we like Farage or not, what party we're in, what party we want to support, whether Ben does a party. We're all going to have our own opinions on that, but we can all agree on the pledge. And if that's the case, then we can find unity. And then if there was an election tomorrow, let's say we had 1 million people signed up to the pledge throughout the country by the end of next year, and there was a general election for some reason, we would then be able to help mobilize the vote in such a way that you wouldn't have parties fighting against each other. You'd have parties working together. And the parties that refuse to work together, or the politicians that refuse to work together, well, then they would feel the full force of the pledge coming against them then, because all those people in those areas, we say, look, this guy's been divisive. He's not playing ball. He's not on side, and obviously that would put them in a very difficult position. So there's a lot of power in the pledge, to actually influence what happens at the next election, and that's never happened before. Where and the thing about it is, Paul, it's the people's pledge. It's the people that will wield that power, not the political parties. And that's the key.
Just going back to Alex Phillips for a minute, I think her version of the truth earlier was lopsided. That was my problem with it. Her version of events was very lopsided. Dro 6ON, thank you. Ben Habib equals integrity and humility is Prime Minister material. I agree. Joshua Steed, thank you. Nigel and Richard cannot be trusted. Ben has spoken on X about this. I said it last week. Freedom Alliance with Ben Habib and others part of the party. I agree that everyone needs to unite. Now, here's the deal. Sorry, I got sidetracked a minute ago, which is not very good form for a host, is it? But they've already sent that lot away. Now, if Ben was to suddenly, for an example, I don't know. I mean, let's just say, for an example, Ben set up his own party. How many people from Reform are going to jump ship in a heartbeat? I reckon up to 75%.
Well, especially Paul, if you say that it's so split that Reform is not gelling very well. It's not going to be hard to get people to jump over, is it? Especially if they believe in what Ben's saying, and I do, you do, and Richard does. I mean, that's only the three of us that's on the show.
Danny, I can tell you now, anyone watching this now that thinks Reform are this happy Hollywood marriage, let me tell you now, when the front door closes and they go inside,
mayhem
behind closed doors, it is not a Hollywood marriage. That I guarantee you, right? So if they cast aside that lot and they cast aside 50%, let's say 50%, let's say 25% for argument's sake, they cast aside 25% of their current membership who go off to join Ben, how are they going to win the next election? Nigel is not uniting the country, he is dividing it. And it's not us, it's not YouTubers like me and Mayor and Richard and you, Danny. We can sit here and talk to her blue in the face, right? But the bottom line is, Reform will fall or die on the actions of its leadership.
But are we splitting the vote again, though? Like we said earlier. I mean, if Ben did start,
Danny, we're not splitting. We're not
no. But
anything.
if it happens, but wouldn't it be better, ideally, if Nigel stepped down and Ben took over? Ideally,
100%.
No, it's not going to happen. No, it's not going to happen.
I honestly think we've got to seriously. I mean, I hope that the leadership of UKIP reach out to Ben and reach out to any other of these small parties that are out there and say that, you know, you couldn't reach out to some of the parties because they're just head cases, but, you know, the sensible parties, you know, SDP, you know, whatever Ben's doing, UKIP, you know, there could be, and then a rump of reform that, you know, so, and again, I think, well, here's the thing, you know, and I know I'm like a broken record, but when it comes to the pledge, right, by the end of the weekend, we'll have 50,000 people on the pledge, right? That's half of what Reform have got. We haven't spent any money. We've done no marketing apart from these videos, right? We don't have a marketing budget. We're just doing it totally organically. Now we'll have half of their membership on our pledge by the end of the weekend, without a shadow of a doubt.
And we don't have Nigel Farage and a former I'm a Celebrity getting me out of it superstar in leading it.
But we have got Richard Inman.
But I'll tell you what we do have. We have integrity and we have a good message. We have a message that the people believe in. The people, so if I was sitting in front of Nigel right now, I would say to him, Nigel, do you know how much the people want to believe in you? Do you know how much so many of us feel that you've let us down and you continue to let us down? You're becoming a part of the establishment. That is not what we want.
But let's look at some positives out of today, right? And let's look at some positives out of what happened at the weekend. So Ben publicly signed the pledge. And, you know, 4 days later, he's left Reform because obviously it's you know, it's like a bad marriage, like you said, irreconcilable differences, right? So he's gone. That means he's a free agent. He doesn't have to worry about answering to Nigel or to any of these PC wokesters who are obviously now in charge in Reform. He can do what he wants and say what he wants. And that's a lot of power he's got because, you know, at the end of the day, nothing he's saying is outrageous. Nothing he's saying. We heard what he says. He believes in the United Kingdom. He believes in everything that's in the pledge. You know, so he can promote those values without fear of anybody stopping him now. And I'm going to tell you, if he's even if he does get cancelled by mainstream media, you just watch how quick his social media will grow. You watch how he'll be. Well, his career will just actually fly from here, no matter what. Whether they
Richard. I was going to say, do you know what? Actually, if he was cancelled, right, he just look. Every single YouTuber, patriotic YouTuber, will give Ben a platform. It's going to be seen by 10 times more people anyway. I'm just looking at the figures now. We've got more people watching this live stream, 3 old gits, than Sky News Live have got watching. They're all nobody trusts them anymore. Nobody watches them anymore.
And the thing
sorry, Richard, I'm in this hotel for a week, right? And I'll tell you something now, all I can get on the TV here is Channel 4 and BBC, right?
And World News, BBC World News.
Within 3 hours, I'm ready to chuck the bloody telly out the window. I've not turned it on since. People do not watch this crap anymore.
No, because it's all lies and left-wing propaganda. And the reality is, if Talk TV and GB News then start censoring, because I think there's a change. I think there's a shift in GB News and Talk TV. Look at what Cardwell did. He didn't call Tommy a racist by accident. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That was planned. Because remember, Alex Phillips had come out very strongly in support of Tommy. Andre Walker, who I think is still on Talk TV, he's trying to build himself a YouTube channel. He's talking about Tommy all the time. To be honest with you, some of it seems a bit sensationalist, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But the reality is that there's 2 presenters on Talk TV were talking about Tommy. I wonder, will Alex talk about Tommy again? And
be interesting.
Peter Cardwell, no coincidence he said Tommy was a racist. No coincidence. That wasn't an accident. And that's why it was so good what Nick and the guys did, and Danny and Maya and the lady who's on your channel. Baraka was there, yeah. I think she was there. You know, so that's why that was so good, because it totally stuck it on him that everybody there, apart from maybe 2 people, were from an ethnic minority background, right? which just kind of showed the support Tommy has right the way across the board. In
And
fact,
also, to be fair, Rich, I know it's not mainstream. Well, it is mainstream. You've got Elon Musk now that seems to be getting behind Tommy, and that is huge. I mean, he owns X. You can't really have much of a bigger platform than that.
And he's in the American.
I will make this prediction. Before the end of next year, Tommy will be sitting down with Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
I think you could well be right. I think you could well be right.
Trust me when I tell you, it will happen. Finny the Mank says, please make it February the 1st. Pammy, the pledge, us Patriots, Ben as leader all the way. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Epic 2000. Did anyone see the Guardian article about Clive of India's sofa being used for woke people to sit on? Google it. I find this stuff so insulting to our history and ancestors. When does it stop? I've got to be honest with you, I didn't read it because the only time I ever come in contact with a Guardian is if we've run out of bathroom tissue, because the Guardian is soft, strong and very absorbent.
And it's full of something else, Paul.
Yeah, and it's full of shit, yeah. Karen, thank you, Karen. Nigel, Richard are spouting usual devious politicians speak. Feels like the establishment have pulled them in line. The Tommy rules have been applied to split the population. Ben's still standing by his values and his morals. This is, look, Karen, what a great message. This is the thing tonight, because I know that there are people out there, I keep saying this, who are going to be pissed off of us because they think we should stand by reform. No, I tell you what I will do. I will stand by people with the right morals, the right ethics, and who I believe in and who I want to stand shoulder to shoulder with. That is why I will stand by Tommy, and that is why I will stand by people like Richard and Danny, because I know them and I know all about them, and that is why I will stand with Ben as well, because Ben is a man of integrity. People like Ben don't come along very often. Absolutely. And I'm not going to give up on them or turn our backs on them just because we might get a few more votes for now with I'm a celebrity in charge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the other thing is, Paul, the reality is that listen, Reform turned their back on us. It's not the other way around. Yeah. Reform have said, exactly. You are leftist. We don't want anything to do with you. You're scum. You're that lot. So, well, if I'm that lot, I'm not going to give my time, my vote, my energy, anything that I do to them. In fact, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to look for other solutions because they are not the solution.
And also, after a gentleman's handshake, really saying, look, get Tommy to back us, and we'll include him a bit in the whole thing. And then to completely, as I say, Tice, just throwing him under the bus was a disgrace, absolute disgrace.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point from both of you there. First of all, there was a sort of a nod, wink, wink agreement between us before the election. That never came to fruition. We said that before.
It did from us. It did from us.
Exactly. And then, like Richard just said, look, it's not us that's turning our backs on reform. They turned their backs on us, called us that lot, did the dirty on us after the election. And look, I know that people who I do respect and like a lot, people like June, want us to stick with Nigel because she feels that he and reform is our best bet to win the next general election. But on this particular point, I've got to disagree. I think there are other options because we're still 4.5 years away. Yeah, there are other options.
We're in a situation at the minute where we're literally teetering on the verge of World War III, right? This is not a normal time where normal things are happening. This is a very abnormal time. Now, hopefully, we get out of this, but there could be a lot of body bags filled before we get out of this. Sadly, I'm not talking about a nuclear war, even a conventional war. If soldiers are getting involved in fighting against Russia in Europe, it's going to be crazy. And that will change the political dynamic substantially. And the British people will have zero tolerance for the people that have dragged us into this horrendous mess with immigration, horrendous mess with net zero, horrendous mess with these forever wars. The British public, like the American public, will be absolutely sick, sore and tired of it. And if Nigel and his little elite little club, Zia and Ricky, don't manage to get their act together, they'll be cast aside. And the British people will find other people. And that's why what we're doing with the pledge is so important. Because That is the glue that can hold this thing together. And I honestly think Nigel is going to be gone within a year or two. I genuinely think he's going to be gone. And I think
who do you want as a leader? A man that sticks resolutely by his guns in Ben Habib, or a man that keeps flip-flopping? You don't know what his message is going to be next week when it comes to illegal migration, repatriation. Thank you, Tracy. Ben is a true gentleman.
I'll tell you my dream team, right? Ben Habib, Tommy Robinson, Gerard Batten, Nick Tenconi, because I know every single one of those men, right? And every single one of them has got massive integrity, and they're all clever, and they all know what they're doing. And I'd love to see Gerard come back. I'd love to see Nick and Tommy and Ben working together in the same party, because look, Nick needs the edges smoothed off him, right? He's a rough diamond. He's going at it like a bull in a china shop. But fair play to him. He's doing something. He's doing more than most, right? So he's going to make mistakes. He's got time to make mistakes. Those guys there in a party would be a very, very formidable force, and hopefully you get other people gravitating and coming in. But you see, there is a lot of snobbery. There's a lot of snobbery in Britain that America doesn't suffer with. Unless you're from one of the elite universities, unless you're, part of the clique, unless you're, one of the elite, they really don't want to touch you. Let's get it right. Reform tolerate Lee Anderson with his northern accent, because it ticks a certain box for a certain demographic. But you watch what happens if Lee Anderson ever puts one foot wrong. He'll be out of there as quick as you can say, Lee Anderson. He'll be gone. He'll be gone.
Stop Animal Cruelty says Alex and Nigel are best friends, unfortunately. Sick of it says, I like Alex as well. But our interview with Ben was just an attack, really disappointing. Finny the Mank met Nigel at Normandy, 6th of June, strutting around and loving it. Ego is an understatement. It's his baby, his company, his football to take home. If you ain't playing, it will destroy them. You see, for those out there that tell me to lay off reform, you need to read the messages that are coming in. This is not me making this stuff up. David Crosby, Donald Trump will dump Farage. Dave Lilly, we want Tommy and Starmer out. Both Ben for PM. Lee, thank you, Lee. Nigel, the least rotten fruit in the basket. I'll agree with that. He's the least rotten fruit in the basket. The way Alex talked to Ben was rude. Cy Harris, Farage and Tice are, yeah. Rob, this country is finished. I'm to death with all of it. I'm moving back to Spain on my Jack Jones. But if you make it this week, we can have a pint together. Sharon, Ray became a member. Thank you, Sharon. And Stephen Anderson, Farage is dangerous. Wills within wills. Thank you, Pommy. Appreciate that. Another new member. Don't forget to upvote everyone if you can. So I think, look, how is this going to play out now, boys? What do you think? With Ben? How is it going to play out? Yeah.
I think he would. Well, he's not going to get back into reform, is he? So his choice really is to jump on with the Conservatives, which I don't think he'll do, or he sets up his own political party. I think that's highly likely.
Yeah, I would like to see him. I'd like to see UKIP reach out to him and him reach out to UKIP just to have a conversation. If nothing else, there's nothing to lose in having a conversation. UKIP's in reformation mode. It's basically, come back from the dead. We've got some very good people on the NEC, all support Tommy, all support our politics, all want to see the UK succeed. So UKIP's definitely there, to be looked at. And I mean, if Ben came in, he'd have to come in probably as leader or joint leader or whatever. I mean, he's not going to just come in and be a member of the party, but I mean, he'd have to come in as leader, I think. Or there'd have to be an election and see whether him or Nick wins or whatever. But it needs to be done pretty quickly, no matter what happens. And
it needs to happen fast. Yeah,
now,
it needs to happen fast.
That might not. So Ben might set up his own party. and then that would have a lot of gravitational pull as well. But I think, again, I mean, it comes back to the pledge. That's what the pledge can help put all these pieces.
Here's the thing, though. Is the thing, though. What we don't want 3, 4, 5 centre-right parties all trying to grab the same votes. We do need unity, but I'll give Nick Tanconi credit for this. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. There are 1 or 2 question marks for me about UKIP at the moment. Nick is aware of that. I've been in a conversation with Nick. He has agreed very, very nicely and quite bravely to come on the show in the not too distant future, and he's going to be answering some very difficult questions that I've got to put his way. And that will go a long way for me to see how he reacts to those questions. And maybe there is a future with Nick and UKIP, but I want to see how this plays out with Ben, because ultimately I think Ben has the best chance of being able to unite people. Claire Bear, thank you, Claire. Why not start a party within the movement and using the pledge to invite Ben to join? I think if we carried on with the pledge and took it around the country, we could do well. I think we could, Claire, and what we've got to do now is we've got to put our heads together and look at the next step, which I think is a national day of action where every single member of the pledge, their mission on that day is to go out and get another member so that we double our membership overnight. And I'm sure that you guys will do that.
Yeah.
So that we just got to work out the logistics. But last week, I think the official launch was just the start. Now the hard work begins.
Well, I think it's gone extremely well, Paul. I mean, from a standing
and we have got
start,
time, haven't we? We have got a bit of time to get our act together. At the end of the day, we will sit back until the last minute towards the general election, and that's when we have to decide who we're going to lend the pledge's support to. So the bigger the pledge gets, the better it gets.
Yeah, I want to see over 1 million. I'd love to see 10 million. I want to see over 1 million in the next.
10 million, you win the election, mate. It's just how it is.
And it's not beyond. Listen, I ended up signing that petition because I thought, why not? But that petition got like what 2,800,000 or something and counting.
I think so. I don't think it quite got to 3 million, did it?
Let's be brutally honest, right? That petition is not going to achieve anything other than giving people a morale boost and letting people. But what it's proved is that people are willing to sign up with their email address, exactly like we do with the pledge. Except the pledge will achieve something because that data from all of us that signed up, the government got that data. With the pledge, the data is held securely so that we can deploy it as a political force at the next election. And that's what this is all about. And that's what people have got to realize. It's not just signing up to things you agree with. It's signing up to something that will give you real power. If you join the pledge, you are empowering yourself and you're empowering the British people. So why can't we get 10 million? If they got 2 million signing that thing in a couple of days, why can't the pledge get 10 million?
This for me is the message of the night, because I want to answer this one. So far, this is it says SC123 says it's so frustrating. Unless the right come together, none of them will win. That's the truth. The issues we face are bigger than any one person. They need to put their differences aside. Brilliant comment, and I'll give you my answer to that. Who put their differences to one side before the general election? Tommy. Who refused to put their differences to one side after the election? Nigel Farage and Reform. Who called everyone that lot, making the differences between us again? Who threw Tommy under a bus? Who's got rid of, who's ostracised Ben out of Reform? So I agree. And I think that everyone is ready to come together. This is the message. This is the thing that we're trying to say. Everyone on the centre right is now ready and willing to come together, except for the 2 or 3 people that hold the keys to the biggest party that currently stands a chance of winning that next general election. If those three, or two at least of those three, weren't there, the centre right is united. That's the message.
Can I give you a scenario, right? Let's say it's UKIP, just for argument's sake, okay? Let's say Tommy joins UKIP and Jared comes back into UKIP. And I'm talking totally hypothetically, because at the end of the day, you know, I haven't spoken to Tommy about this, and I haven't spoken to Jared. And Jared, you know, last time I spoke to him, there's no intention to do it. But let's say hypothetically, and then Ben comes into UKIP. The gravitational pull from that would be massive. It would pull thousands of people into the orbit. And obviously, you know, if Reform is still standing at the end of that, it's going to be a very, very weakened party. You know, and
then Rich, to add to that, add the people that sign up to the pledge to that as well.
Well, exactly.
You're looking at a powerful party.
Already, we've got nearly. Think about it, Danny. We've already got nearly 50,000. UKIP at its height only ever had 30,000, as far as I know. So we're already bigger than UKIP.
We haven't really pushed it yet, have we?
No, we haven't. You know, I mean,
Rob. Sorry, let me just read this one out. Rob Cleverton, what other country do you know where you can move to that gives you free benefits and the bloody council property? When I first moved to Spain and bought my villa, it came out of my own pocket, no freebies.
It's very true exactly. In Spain. There is no freebies in Spain.
Yeah. My daughter's moving to Spain, and the hoops she's had to jump through and the money they've had to pay, unbelievable. Ugly boy. If Reform are not going to stick with the promises they made, they are just another bunch of lying, manipulative elite snobs. We deserve better. So I think that is, you know, that's definitely my overriding message for any doubters out there. And thank you, Gina. Someone like, you know, again, I'll say it again, someone who I like and respect, June. You know, June Slater, love you, June. But look, here's the deal. The centre right is united. It's Nigel that won't unite us.
Absolutely. We've got loads of really good friends in Reform, loads of really good friends in UKIP, loads of really good friends in, you know, the other smaller parties, you know, and none, you know. So there's just, you know, there's a great sense of unity. That last event we had, what a great sense of unity and love, you know, and you know, and.
Well, he needs to come along and fit. He needs to come along and feel it. I'm hoping Ben might come to the next one. Lee Butcher, Paul, is this true? 2-tier, 3-gear kit, Sharia Karma, Farmer Harmer, Starmer. Where's a Rodney Trotter watch? I like that. Great. Farage is now polling most popular MP UK. I've signed the pledge, but having MPs and councils is more than just signatures. Reform opening 60 branches. Look, I understand that. I totally agree. But it doesn't mean to say that we couldn't do better.
Well, I think what we've got to say as well, Paul, is we're not digging out people who are Reform supporters at all.
No, like
if you're supporting Reform and you've thought it all through, I get it. And look, if we're proved wrong, like Ben said today, if we're proved wrong, we'll put our hands up, we'll walk away, and we'll leave the field, because the reality is, you know, we don't always get things right all the time, you know.
But we're not trying to say vote Reform, vote UKIP, we're going to support this, we're going to support that. We're just trying to get people to sign up to the pledge so that as and when it comes to the political party, towards the end, we can all sit there and go, look, let's all get behind and go from there.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're all on the same side. All the Reform voters watching this now, we're all on the same side. We are united. Like I said, it's the guy that can unite us all is failing to unite us. Ben would unite everyone, but Nigel was refusing.
I honestly think Nigel's days are numbered, and if that's the case, I think if he goes, then it's game on. Because I don't think if there's a free and fair election, I don't think Zia Yusuf's going to be elected as leader of Reform in a million years. I just don't think that's going to happen. You know, Tice, don't think he's going to get it. I think it'd be someone like, you know, what they call him, Rupert Lowe. Rupert Lowe, you know.
Rupert Lowe's good. I like Rupert. Rupert and Ben would be a dream team for me.
And Rupert has mentioned Tommy as well. Yeah. To be fair, you know, supporting him, not directly supporting him, but certainly mentioning him, not in a negative way.
Rupert is a good man. Woo, thank you. Will you take the pledge to be signed at the next Uniting the Kingdom gathering? I think we absolutely will be. Epic 2000.
Yeah.
I wonder whether Farage will get more serious once Trump starts tearing apart the communist problem they have over there. I can't wait. Eats popcorn. Roy Everts, thank you. Australian Parliament passed a law banning under 16s accessing social media platforms. This involves digital ID and geo-positioning to stop VPN access for everyone. BBC broadcast live. Beware. Thank you for that. After today, this is knobbing nuts. After today's debacle, I'm cancelling my Reform membership. Ben is a true patriot, and like you, I stand with him and I stand with Tommy. DJE Media, thank you so much. Love DJE Media. I was watching one of your videos.
That's a great channel.
Always. I tell you what, one of my favourite places to watch DJE is when I'm sitting down, have my dinner, I pop my iPhone in front of me, and one of his videos usually takes about the same time as it does to eat my
with
dinner.
The drones and all that,
yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Brilliant.
Joshua Steve, thank you. Rome wasn't built today. This needs to grow to be a mass grassroots movement. Freedom Alliance are already set up and established. Unity is a must. No egos. Absolutely. The unity is absolutely key. And I say it again and again and again until I'm blue in the face. The people that could have united us failed.
Yeah, I think we've got to look at the positives, haven't we, Paul? You know, and the positives are that Ben's free now, and he's a free agent, and there's lots of other stuff going on. The pledge is going fantastically well. You know, there's a lot of good things. That Trump's, you know, smashing it, and you know, hopefully we get through to the inauguration without these lunatics starting World War III. You know, so there's a lot of positive stuff going on, and it's just a question of I think going, okay, look. The reality is the British people are not stupid. They'll see what's going on and they'll see who the good people are. The problem is getting the platform and getting them out there to the masses. But I think we can. I think we can do it. I think we can do it, and I think that's where the pledge and all these sorts of things could play a massive role. You know, once we get people communicating with each other that have signed up to the pledge, and you know, chatting to each other, I think it can be really, really powerful.
Yeah. Linda, do you think Tommy could ask Elon Musk to support the pledge? We need some big names to pull it out there. This is Linda. What's the space? I think there are. You know, don't write anything off, Linda. That's all I'll say. If you had to vote for a party right now, who would it be? Okay, so look, if there was a election tomorrow, it really. I mean, I'm going to go with Reform.
I'm going to go with Reform at the moment.
It sounds hypocritical, but I'd probably vote Reform.
I'd have to go UKIP. I'd have to go UKIP, just on the point of principle. And you know, the only people that are reflecting my views at the minute are UKIP.
But I'm looking at the bigger picture. But I understand what you're saying, Richard, and respect that totally.
Well, I mean, it's not obviously there isn't going to be an election tomorrow, so. You know, that's why we've got to build, you know. That's why, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it's hypothetical. Yeah. Epic 2000. Long before the election, we must demonstrate what can be done with the pledge, e.g., that it works, that pledge members are loyal and prepared to work as a bloc. Otherwise, it may not be taken seriously. Great point. And we have the ideal opportunity coming up next May in the local elections. I think we will hopefully be able to mobilise the pledge voters then, Richard, but it will be for candidates that are trying to unite us, not trying to split us up. Pammy Telford, printable version of the pledge, please, lads.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Northwest Patriot, lads, enter John O'Groats Pledge Road show. That would be good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you know what, Paul? Also, while we're on that subject about the printable version, what about putting a QR code that people can just snapshot, put on their phone, and if they're out with their mates, turn around and say, do you want to sign the pledge? Just quickly photo, and it takes you straight to the website. Sign it there and then. They're out with their friends on a Friday night.
That's a great thing, and I'll put one up in just a moment. No more supers now, please, guys, because we'll be bringing it to an end before long. David Crosby. Young man times 3, Merry Christmas to you and all your families. Thank you. Sharon's a new member. Thank you so much, Sharon. Let me put up, there you go. Get your cameras out, guys. Get your phones out at home, please, if you can, for the moment. Get your phones out and take a picture of that. Let me get rid of the banner there at the bottom. There you go. Take a picture of that.
Leave that up for a sec, Paul. And then people can, if you're out in a pub tomorrow night, Friday night, and turn around and say, look, can you sign this? Just show them the code on your phone. They'll use their camera to look at that. They can straight away sign it there and then. 30 seconds, it's done. Carry on with your pint.
So that's a great point, Danny. If you get that photographed on your camera right now,
and just save it in your camera roll.
Yeah, just save it in your camera roll. And then when you're out and about, get people to scan it. Jobs are good.
Now, I just want to give a health warning, Paul. And just for pure transparency, we have problems with O2 because of the you know, one of the clauses in the pledge which talks about grooming and what have you. So that's causing a problem with O2. It's nailed on. That's what it is, and we just need to resolve that. So some people will not be able to get seeing it, and some people on O2 can see it if they've got the settings slightly different. But I just think we need to make people aware of that. Just
right, so there might be a slight issue with O2.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just give you an idea of. Hold on, I was just going to go through some of the other comments then, some of the regular chat, but they're moving so fast again, I can't really see them. Right, guys, that is it. I am out here for another few days doing what I need to do. Can't wait to get back so that we can continue the fight, continue the battle. Hope everyone enjoyed it tonight. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know what you think about what we said in the comment section below. Please keep it friendly. But the overriding message from everyone, I think, is that we want to unite. We just want the people in charge that want to unite us, that can unite us, and that then can take us forward and win our country back, win the next general election.
Well, can I just ask if people can go to my new channel, the Counter Media? So the easiest way to get it is go onto YouTube, type in Counter Media UK, and you'll get it. You'll get it dead easy. But you know, just just typing in Counter Media, you will get there. But Counter Media UK, you should get it easier. So you can either Google that or just type that on YouTube, and you'll find the channel. Because we want to get the subs up on that, because the more people we can get following that, the better it's going to be when we try and start pushing that one out as well.
I've just put that in the chat there. Let me just deal with this one. Actually, it's disappeared already.
Just before we go, can everyone hit the thumbs up, because it helps with the video. Give it a thumbs up and a share if you can.
So someone just said there on the chat, I've missed it now, but they said that Ben is a crybaby. You've got to be having a laugh. Everything that Ben has said is true. Everything that Ben has said has been accurate. Everything that Ben has said has been fair. And with all due respect, if you don't understand that everything you said has turned out to be true, then you just don't know the history of Nigel. So, you know, you need to do a little bit more homework, I'm afraid.
Yeah, we will share that. We will share that that QR code on the Pledge Facebook page, which someone's just asked for that.
Yeah, fine. So, do that. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Right, guys. Big crowd tonight again. Over 5,500, nearly 6,000 people watching at one stage. Yeah. 3 times the amount of Sky TV or Sky News Live. We love you all. I wish you was out here with me in Spain, because the weather's been absolutely cracking today, boys.
Thanks for that,
Thanks for that, boys.
I was sitting by the pool myself today, mate.
I know. Danny is currently about 100 miles away from me, Danny, right? Is that right?
Yeah,
about
I'll pop up. We'll have a pint before you go.
All right, brother. Take it easy. Danny, thank you
later,
so
everyone.
much, Richard. Bless you all. Thank you, everyone, for coming in tonight, and we will see you again soon. I am releasing a cracking video, one not to miss. I described it as one of the best interviews I've ever had on my show. I'll be releasing it probably, I think, Saturday, maybe tomorrow night, we'll see. But whenever I release it, don't miss it. See you later, guys. Love to everyone.